What do you want to do next? I get it. Case ready to proceed. Case here, ready to proceed.
Yes, sir.
Bench ready to proceed.
We're ready, Judge.
Witness present.
Judge, in terms of scheduling, are we going to complete the defendant and the rebuttal this evening? Because I've got people sitting outside.
That's good. I mean, do you have much of this?
We just have this Morris that we wanted to proffer.
That'll be 3 minutes, Judge.
Commissioner Morris, the one we discussed this morning.
Well, that she did come over.
Yes.
And my understanding is that she would just say she was going to testify that she wasn't there.
She wasn't there, so she didn't drive her to his car. That should be pretty cool.
So again, other than the fact that she wasn't listed and you haven't deposed her, any other objections? Was there any objections from the state on calling her?
I don't even know what she's going to say right this second. I mean, I hear what they say, but I have never talked to her. So in terms of her getting on the witness stand and testifying today before I talk to her, yes, I do. In terms of a proffer, no. And for the big picture, well, I'm not getting into the rest of it.
Well,
Your issue is so collateral to what we're talking about. It's just to testify that, no, I wasn't there. I can't tell you any more than that. I wasn't there.
well, our witness that contradicted is a one-to-one, basically, of this Alexia versus Romaine Johnson. And they vigorously impeached Ms. Johnson. And so now you have the jury wondering about the issue of whether Alexia was telling the truth about Mr. Rivera driving that SUV away. And she says, key issue here, she says, well, my cousin drove Rivera's car, because that's the only way it makes sense. He left his car and purposely abandoned it. So this girl can contradict that directly. So that's why we don't consider it collateral, because him driving a car makes it a personal defense and show that he was involved in the planning of the insurance.
Again, Judge, I could not possibly agree to that objection to having her testify when I never spoke to her.
Why don't we proffer it, and they can see what she says, and they can cross it, and then we can decide whether the jury will show. It take a couple of minutes. Pretty
Well, Jerry. And then you've got a couple of witnesses here from
Fort Myers.
Fort Myers.
And would that be it for the state's rebuttal? Would we go to closings in the morning for scheduling purposes?
Yes. For that tomorrow, yes.
So closing will be first thing, or we have more rebuttals?
I beg your pardon?
We're closing to be first thing tomorrow, or we have more rebuttals?
I'm not presently in. I'm presently envisioning finishing tonight, and we would have a bench conference tomorrow.
Yeah, we start out with a bench conference.
For the instructions?
If the state arrested rebuttal today, I would tell the jury not to get here before 11 tomorrow.
And that's why I was asking. I know they have a right to strategy. I just figured the jury instructions should be ready to do that.
And then I've got 8 pages in the morning.
So, Judge, are you envisioning the jury comes at 11? There would be a lunch break in between. I'm wondering if we could consider having them come at like 12:30 or 1 or something like that, just going straight through.
I actually think that's a good suggestion.
Not a bad thought either.
Because if we bring them in just to say, now we're going to let you go for lunch, that might work.
But while we're talking about that, have we given thought to how little time we would like to close it?
Little.
Well, everybody else knows how much time. I'm just the opposite. I'm ever hopeful.
Like 40 years young, we started saying that.
Yeah.
Months ago.
I mean, at least an hour and a half. There are a lot of exhibits to go through, and there's video, which is time-consuming just to fool around with, an hour and a half to 2 hours. I would need some considerable time to organize the exhibits at some point.
I wouldn't use more than that, Judge. That's fine.
All right.
If the court wants a grant, that would be fine. I think that's a little
Typically
excessive.
not one go overly restrict one's closing arguments. As typically not one to overly restrict the voir dire to begin.
And I know the court has said that the court has some strict views while we're on this subject about use of rebuttal. I mean, does the court feel the same way about rebuttal closings? So I know there's been some recent case law that's, has become an issue in some trials I've been involved in, state, doing some perfunctory first closings and saving this for the second closing.
Oh, no, I had one where defense counsel waived his closing and the state was stuck with a judge draft.
Yeah, but I don't want to do that as a first degree murder judge.
Well,
I would assume that
This
they
is
actually.
just an armed robbery case.
Yeah. I would just assume that they give a true first closing, the rebuttal be rebuttal.
I expect that out of them. It's really the bill on him. I think he understands that. All right. Ralph line up our jury. Let's try to see if we can move forward. Speaking of potential charge conference in the morning, has defense given any thought, or are they going to request any special or additional jury instructions other than the standard that have already been presented in the state's package?
We are, Judge. And actually, maybe I should email it to you and Mr. Rubin when we leave so that you guys can look at it.
Perfect. That'd be great. Thank you.
I know I have the addresses in this computer, I think.
What's the general topic?
The topic is instruction on video recordings of statements of suspects. It is proposed instruction from the Florida Innocence Commission final report, Appendix M. I altered it. I'm going to send both versions so you can see the unaltered and the altered. The unaltered contains references to the law of recordings, which I don't think are applicable to the case, so I removed some of the versions. And, but I'll send both versions to the council and to the court, and then we can look and talk about it more.
There's a chance you could object to that.
I would assume that they would object to the judge.
I guess I wasn't necessarily expecting an answer. I was expecting to get present or instructions.
I think I can take care of that. You already get paid, Judge.
You're right.
Yeah. If I can't, if they convict on that, I'm in trouble.
All right, Gary, please.
All right, proceed, please. I mean, defense, I'm sorry. You read your question.
Thank you, Judge. Now, Eric, can you step down for just a moment? We're referring to page 175 from the prior hearing.
Judge, Are we displaying the prior hearing as direct evidence in the case?
I didn't think we were gonna do that.
We're
Just
displaying
the lines that he read, Judge.
Excuse me.
It's still not in evidence, so it shouldn't be shown to
I can't,
the
I
jury.
understand what they're referring to, yeah. Well, if you want to display everything that he said, we can talk about that in terms of a little section. I don't envision that.
Judge, I was just showing the portion that was read out on cross-examination from page 175.
That was lines,
Lines 5 through 18.
But Judge, if she's going to be displaying something, then I object to her displaying something. There's more on the topic anyway.
it's not in evidence, that document.
Yes, Judge, but the statement is in evidence because Mr. Rubin.
Right, there's more on that page than just the statement.
Right, but I didn't show the rest of the page.
You can't go
I
back
would
and
show
ask
it to
him
him.
about it?
I would.
Thanks.
All right. Going to lines 5 through 18. Do you remember Mr. Rubin just asking questions about that?
Yes.
Okay. Now, when you made that statement, were you talking about what you told your father or what you told Detective Segovia?
When I made that statement,
Yes.
I was talking about what I told Detective Scobie.
Okay. Now, there's been a lot of talk about this prior hearing that happened in 2011. Let's talk about who was present at that hearing. Do you remember it?
Yes.
Okay. So we already established that you were there, obviously. And Judge Murphy was there, correct?
Yes.
And Mr. Rubin was there, correct?
Yes.
Did you have an attorney at the time?
Yes.
But it wasn't myself or Mr. Brown, was it?
No.
Okay. Now, who else was in the courtroom for that hearing?
Charles, Jason, Tim, and there was probably a couple more lawyers.
Okay. So Charles, Jason, and Tim were also in the courtroom when you were asked, was your statement to the police true, correct?
Yes.
And you testified that at that hearing, with Charles, Jason, and Tim being there, you stated yes, your statement was true.
Yes.
Why did you do that?
Tough situation. There's a lot of reasons.
Well, what are the reasons?
One, because I didn't want to tell them the truth. Then I didn't think it mattered because I felt like the police was lying. I felt like they wasn't going to be able to use none of that against me at my trial.
Okay. Now, what was the main focus of that hearing?
Objection.
Sustained.
Judge, may we have a sidebar?
Yes, you may.
time period of November 30th that was relevant for the prior hearing, was that somewhere between about 10 a.m. and 2 p.m.? Is that correct?
10 a.m. 2 p.m.
Yes.
I'd say between, yeah, mainly yes.
Okay. So the main focus of that hearing was not the substance of your statement that you gave to Detective Segovia, correct?
Yes.
The main focus of that hearing was simply the circumstances around you making the statement.
Yes.
And that's what you limited your testimony to.
Objection.
Sustained.
Now, you stated when Mr. Rubin was asking you questions about your testimony at that hearing, you stated you did not feel that you were not telling the truth. Is that correct?
Yes, about certain things. Yes.
Okay. And why do you feel that your statement was truthful, the statements he had you read from the transcript?
Objection.
I don't really recall every statement he had me read. I read.
Judge, may I approach? And for the record, I'm showing him page 145 of the transcript.
There was a second.
Now, page 145 of the transcript, you were asked, did you ever see your cell phone while you were sitting in that room that you were in when they did the interview? You
I
said,
remember just reading something off the transcript.
and you said no, then you were asked, was your cell phone ever given back to you? And you said no. Do you remember Mr. Rubin just asking you about that part of your testimony?
Yes.
And when he asked you about that part of your testimony, you stated that you were telling the truth, correct?
Yes.
What did you mean by that when you said you were telling the truth?
I meant while I was in that room, I never got my phone back. They never gave it to me.
Now, you were also asked about, and I'm referring to page 175, did you tell your dad that you had just confessed to a crime? Do you remember Mr. Rubin asking you about that?
Yes.
Okay. And did you tell your father that you had just confessed to a crime?
Something to that effect. I told him I did.
Now, did you ever tell your father that you committed the crime?
No, I never told him that.
And why not?
I wasn't really concerned about that. I was more concerned about, hey, let me use your phone. And he was asking me questions, but the only thing I really told him was, I told him I did it.
Now, other than telling Detective Segovia you committed this crime, did you ever tell anyone that you shot Sean Taylor?
Did I ever tell anyone that I shot Sean Taylor?
Yes.
Besides Segovia, though?
Yes.
No,
And why not?
because I didn't.
Now, do you recall being asked, did you tell him that you shot him, but you didn't mean to kill him? Do you recall being asked if you told Detective Segovia that you shot Sean Taylor, but you never meant to kill him?
Page?
175.
I can't remember the exact time, but I remember being asked that question.
Okay. Now, did you ever mean to shoot Sean Taylor?
Did I ever mean to shoot him?
Yes.
I never. I had nothing to do with that.
Did you ever shoot him?
No, I did not.
Now, wanted to follow up with you about the phone records that Mr. Rubin referred to you. Do you know, he asked you several times, did you know Jason Mitchell's phone number? Do you know Jason Mitchell's phone number?
No.
Did you know that was Jason Mitchell's phone number on the phone record?
No.
If Jason's number is on the phone records, do you know how it got there?
Possibly, if Charles used the phone, called him. It's the only way I could think of.
Now, you said that you were with Charles that entire day until you went to Trey's house. Is that correct?
Yeah, so let's get right there.
Okay. And do you know what time it was when you went to Trey's house?
Around, I believe it was around 7, 8.
So if the phone calls to Jason's number that were on the phone records were at 19:02 in military time, do you know what time that would be?
1902. 702.
Okay, so that would have been before you went to Trey's house, correct?
Possibly, yeah.
And that would have been when you were with when you were with Charles Wardlow.
Possibly, yes.
And if the phone call would have been at 18:56, what time would that have been?
18. That's around 6. 7, 6:56.
And that would have been before you went to Trey's house, correct?
Possibly.
And that was when you were hanging out with Charles?
Yes, I was with him before I went to trails.
And did you let Charles use your phone sometimes?
Yeah, sometimes I use my phone.
Yeah, actually, yeah.
Now, is Charles friends with Jason?
Is Charles friends?
Yes.
I would assume so, yes.
And later that night, Charles went to pick up Jason from Jason's house, correct?
Yes, they picked him up while he was walking down the street.
And did you ever call Jason Mitchell?
Did I ever call him?
Yes.
No, I never called him.
Did you ever talk to Jason Mitchell on November 25th before Jason got into the car?
No, I never spoke to him.
Now, did you know Trey's number?
Did I know her number?
Yes.
Probably back then, I'm pretty sure I probably knew it.
Okay. Did you call Trey before you went to her house that day?
I'm pretty sure either she called me or I called her.
And why did you call Trey?
I'm pretty sure. I was just, the whole day, that's what the plan was. When she finished doing hair, I was going to go over there.
Okay. So did you call her to see if she was done with her hair appointment?
It was possible.
Do you remember?
Not really, no.
Now, you knew the phone records were admitted into evidence, correct?
Yes.
And you had a chance to look at them last night, correct?
Yes.
Was that the first time you had a chance to look at them?
Yes, that's the first time I seen her.
And did you know Jason's number was in those phone records?
No.
And why not?
I never knew Jason's number, so I didn't really recognize none of the numbers.
Now, you were asked if the tools that were used came from your house, and you said yes. Is that correct?
Yes.
Whose tools were those?
That was Charles' tools.
And what type of tools did Charles have?
A lot of tools.
And, well, name some of them for us.
Name some?
Yes.
I really only know the basics, but he had a lot of tools. Hammer, screwdriver,
And-
yeah, crowbar. Yeah, level 2 is flathead.
Now, were they in like a bag or were they just loose tools?
That was in the bag when I was at my house.
What type of bag were they in?
I guess like a tool bag. Yes, that's what it is.
And why were the tools at your house?
Because he was working on the folder earlier that weekend.
Okay, and when you say a four-wheeler, do you mean an ATV?
Yes, they did.
Did you see when Charles picked up his tools?
Did I see?
Yeah.
Yes, I see.
When did he take the tools from your house?
I believe it was earlier that day, or probably the day before.
And why did he take the tools from your house?
Because I guess he had a plan of going to get a folder.
Okay. Now, you were asked, did you know who Jason was on the phone with while all of you were in the car together, correct?
Yes.
Did you know who Jason was on the phone with?
No, I don't know.
Now, you were arrested in this case, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Was Charles also arrested?
Yes.
Was Benja also arrested?
Yes.
And was Tim also arrested?
Yes.
Do you know if anyone else was arrested?
No, that's it.
But the police had phone records from you, Jason, and Charles, correct?
Yeah, I know that now, yes.
And you were asked, were you at the Hertz rental car, correct?
Yes.
Did you go to Hertz rental?
Yes.
And when did you go to Hertz?
I mean, involved with the Highlander situation?
Yes.
Yes, I went that day. I don't really recall specifically what day it was, but
Okay. And why were you at Hertz?
I just dropped Charles off.
Now, when you dropped Charles off, what car were you driving?
My car.
And why were you driving your car?
I don't know, my car.
Is that the car you normally drove?
Yes.
If you had your own car, did you need a rental car?
No, I didn't need a car.
Did Charles own a car?
No.
Did Charles have a car that his parents let him use?
No.
So Charles was the one who wanted the rental car,
Yes, he won. Yeah.
and you just dropped him off.
Yes.
At the time when you dropped Charles off at Hertz, did you know there was going to be a plan to go to Miami later that week?
No.
Did you know anything about a trip to Miami at the point when you took Charles to Hertz?
It wasn't, at that time, I don't believe it was ever even brought up.
Now, you stated that your parents' house is about a 10 to 15 minute drive away from Trey's house. Is that correct?
Yeah, possibly, depending on traffic, how fast you drive.
Okay. What part of Lee County did Trey live in?
Trey stayed in Lehigh.
And that's Lehigh Acres?
Yes.
Okay. And you live in Fort Myers, correct?
Yes.
Do you know how much a cab would have cost to get from Lehigh to Fort Myers?
No.
Do you know if there are cabs that will take you to Lehigh?
No.
Have you ever tried to call a cab before?
No.
And you did ask Charles to take you home, correct?
Yes, I asked him to take it home.
And what was Charles' response when you asked him to take you home?
Charles' response?
Yes.
It was just basically just telling me it's no big deal. You know, we're just gonna ride down there, we're gonna come right back tonight.
Now, when you agreed to go to Miami with Charles, why did you agree to go?
I agreed to go.
Yes.
Well, after speaking to my sister, she told me she wasn't gonna come. And I had to leave Trey's house, so then he locked himself out of his house, so I couldn't go back there. So I just, when he told me it wasn't no big deal, that I was just gonna go and come back. I just said, all right, I guess. I just said, all right, I'll go.
Now, at the point when you agreed to go to Miami, did you know Venja had a gun?
Did I know he had a gun?
Yes.
I knew he had a gun. I didn't know he was actually with him at the time.
When did you find out Venja had his gun with him?
Well, when Charles, when he picked him up early,
And why didn't you get out of the car?
I didn't get out of the car.
Yes.
I what? When?
The entire time.
I was just for the ride.
Were you there to get any money?
No, I wasn't getting any money.
Were you there to go and break into Sean Taylor's house?
No,
Were you there to help them commit a burglary?
no.
Did you drive the car at all?
That night?
Yes.
No,
Did you give anybody any money to help them get to Miami?
no,
Did you act as a lookout while they were in the house?
no.
Now, why didn't you ever call the police?
Why didn't I call the police?
Yes.
About what had happened?
Yes. After everything happened, why didn't you go home and call the police?
No, I guess I didn't want to tell them. I guess I didn't want to tell them what happened
Why not?
because I didn't want to end up getting them in trouble.
Were you scared of any of the guys that were involved in this?
Definitely.
Sustained.
But you didn't want them to get in trouble?
Yes, basically.
How many people could you have called to give you a ride home that night?
How many people I could have called?
Yes. You called your sister, right?
Right,
And you asked Charles to give you a ride home.
right.
Is there anyone else you could have called?
If I could have called basically anybody I knew, I guess.
And why didn't you call any of those people?
Well, when I called my sister, he basically saying it's no big deal. You're going to come back. You're going to go there and we're going to come right back. So I ended up just saying, all right.
And what gave you the impression it was no big deal?
Just the way he was just saying. He was just saying that we're going to go there and we're going to come right back.
And who is he?
That's what Charles was telling me.
And what was your relationship with Charles?
Close friend.
How often would you spend time with Charles?
I often,
Yeah.
at that time, we was going to the same school, playing on the same team. Basically spent a lot of time together.
Did you trust him?
Did I trust him?
Yes.
Yeah, I trust him.
Now, you said that there were ski masks involved, but you never saw anybody wearing them, correct?
Right, I never actually put them on.
Yes.
No, I never actually seen nobody put it on.
Who had the ski mask?
I believe Jason had like 2 of them. He brought 2.
So Jason had ski masks. Jason also had gloves, correct?
Yes, he had brought those.
Charles was the one who got the tools from your house, correct?
Charles?
Yes.
Yes.
And Venja had a gun,
Yes.
correct? Did you have anything with you that was going to be used to help commit this burglary?
No.
Did you ever help hide any tools?
No.
Did you ever help hide or destroy any ski masks or gloves?
No.
Why not?
Why not?
Yes.
Yes. I had no reason to. Yes.
Now, you stated that,
Around that time, right before.
so Tim was not there at FDLE on November 30th, correct?
Now I know, yes, he wasn't.
Okay. Did you ever see Vinja at FDLE on November 30th?
No, I never seen Benji.
Did you ever see Charles at FDLE?
No, I never seen Charles.
Did you ever see Jason?
Jason, yes, I seen him one time.
And you saw Jason before you decided to cooperate, huh?
And I seen Jason again later on that night too, like, I believe it was early morning the next day, like in the big office area.
Is that when you were taken from FDLE to the jail?
No, it was later, I want to say it was later that night, early next morning, but I'm not really exactly sure, but I see it from each other, that you can see them, but you can't really speak to them.
Did it look like they were about to do a press conference?
Objection.
Sustained.
I'll move on. Now, did you ever go back to Florida Christian after you got arrested?
After I got arrested,
Yes.
no, I couldn't go back.
Now, Mr. Rubin asked you, how far did you go in school? Did you ever complete high school?
No,
Mr. Rubin asked you about the Jordans, the shoes that you were wearing that day, correct?
yes,
Did you ever get to go back to your room?
no.
So do you know where your Jordans are?
At this time,
Yes.
no,
Do you know where any of your clothes are?
no,
Did you ever, you were on your way to school on November 30th, did you ever have a chance to go back to your bedroom?
no.
Look, if I could have just one moment. Hold on, before I do that. Now, when you were being questioned, there was both Detective Bellew and Segovia at certain points, correct?
Yeah, at certain points,
And at other points, it was only Detective Segovia.
yes,
And at one point, Detective Bellew stated that Sean Taylor was a good man. He was a great football player. He was basically staying in his own home with his wife and child, and some individuals who were too lazy to work or get a job basically broke into his house and shot this man in his own house. Is that correct?
that's what he said happened, but it never happened.
Okay. What were you thinking when the detective said that to you, when Detective Bellew made that statement?
When Bellew made that statement,
Yes.
the statement was, it was never made.
But I thought you just said that's what Bellew said.
No, that's
Objection
what,
asked and answered.
no, I said, that's what Bellew said, he
Cool.
said.
Correct. So, what were you thinking when Bellew said that?
When he said that statement,
Yes.
I honestly don't really recall him ever making a statement like that.
Okay. Now, you were there from around 11 a.m. or 11:30 a.m., correct?
11 a.m.
On November 30th.
It was around that time the police, yes, they picked me up.
Yes.
Now, you stated you agreed to cooperate around 2 o'clock, is that correct?
Yes.
And what time were you shown that picture of Timmy?
It says 210, so yes, 210.
And you signed that stating it was 210, correct?
Yes.
What time were you asked to draw this diagram?
2:15. I guess.
And what time were you asked to sign the picture of the shoes?
So it says 2:17.
What time were you asked to sign the picture of Benja Hunt?
Says 3:30.
In that entire time between 2 o'clock and 3:55, you were speaking with the detectives, correct?
Yes.
And what time were you asked to give your official sworn statement?
I believe it was 3:55. Yes, 3:55.
So it's your testimony that between 2 p.m. and 3:55 p.m., the detectives told you all of the details that were included in your sworn statement.
Basically, most of them, yes. He basically was just telling me the story of what, hey, this is what these people saying happened. This is what we know happened based on certain evidence that he's had in the diagram. He was saying this is what happened.
Judge, if I could have just one moment. Eric, did the detectives ever tell you if you didn't cooperate with them, it could affect your sentence going forward with the case?
Objection, Your Honor. First of all, it's a leading, it's a suggestion. Secondly, it didn't come up in cross nor on prior direct.
Sustained.
And Eric, what did the detectives say to you to get you to cooperate?
But they
Objection,
say
that's an answer.
it was a combination of a lot of things.
Like what?
They saying, hey, we know you did it. Then they were basically saying the details. And they were telling about my mom. And when I say tell about my mom, that's kind of the point where, hey, I decided that, yeah, I'm going to cooperate with y'all.
Just if I could have just one more moment.
Thank you. All right, Mr. Rick, take a seat next to counsel again. Go ahead, next witness.
Judge, I thought that we needed to discuss something.
Okay, I'm settled. witnesses in rebuttal.
Yes, Judge.
We need a couple minutes to gather the troops out there. I'll have the jury step back in the court in the jury box, the jury room for about 3 minutes. We should have begin the state rebuttal case. And I'm told we're going to finish the evidence today, but I'm not telling you that yet.
Ladies and gentlemen, excuse me, step back into the jury room, please, and take it anymore.
Take a couple of minutes. I would ask that we do the same thing with the proper as we did yesterday. Conclusion that you send the jury out, you send the cameras out, and the media out, that you can then make the proper for the witness that I'm not going to let you call.
I'm just confused why the media doesn't cover properly, but covers the rest of the conversation.
Because the rest of the trials are trials that the public and the spectators get to all see and the jury gets to see, but not witnesses that I exclude.
So when are we on the proper?
At the end of the day when it's in the jury.
Is she allowed? I just feel bad because she's just in the
It's
hall.
really a brief, Judge, because then we don't have to see, do it right now and then bring it back in and let Mr. Rivera follow.
No, I want him to go talk to the people and get them ready and continue on this.
Can we go talk to her then, Judge?
Yes, we may. We may.
You can't call me.
I use biofreeze today.
You used what?
Biofreeze.
Is that like a vino?
Huh?
Is that like a vino?
That's like 3 days.
No, I'm kidding.
Something for it, like, it cools
You
it
missed the whole
off.
joke, didn't you?
What's a vino?
I just got it.
I wish. I think I might buy some of it. Put it on before bedtime. Have you ever used it? Does it have a base station? Was it like oatmeal and something? I thought it was like the really dry.
They've got different combinations. Some for like eczema. They usually have some other good stuff in there, something like that. This is my
But I do have dry skin, but I don't want something that smells. So which kind does what you're talking about? Which
I
kind?
don't know. I read it. Read the article. It's on the internet. It has to be true. I saw it on the internet. It's got to be true.
Oh, yeah. Like my active boyfriend. You saw that commercial?
Yes. Your French active boyfriend. Bonjour.
Don't you be acting funny?
You know that's
You do. You just did. See? Sometimes.
Pages of benches on cross-exam, that's where you go waste. I guess I could flip them over using the scratch Probably not. But it's like if you ever played baseball when you were a kid, sometimes something moves so fast that you're just afraid you're sweating what's happening there. Hey, you pop it straight up in the air to picture like ball. Yeah, it's like, it's too good. He's all over
Ralph, you wanna go check with the troops out there, tell them to fall asleep in here?
Okay.
Our stomachs are growling. I was wondering where we're at. The heater pump tonight, too.
I'm watching this stuff.
Huh? Yeah. All right. Dates ready to proceed then?
Yes, Judge.
Okay.
We only have one rebuttal witness. All I'm going to ask him about is whether there was a landline in the opposite FDLA at the time the defendant was in it.
Okay. Bring my jury back in. Defense is ready, defendant is present.
President, can afford Judge.
All right, see you, please. All right. Did you recall your first witness in rebuttal?
Steve Emerson.
Standing in front of the court, raise your right hand, head straight in, and you have to seat the microphone alongside the judge.
Do you swear or affirm the evidence you're about to give you the truth, the whole truth, and none but the truth?
I do. All right, have a seat here, sir. Use the microphone, and when you're ready, Mr. Rubin, you may proceed.
How are you employed?
I'm an inspector with the Florida Department of Law Enforcement.
And how long have you been with them?
I've been with the Florida Department of Law Enforcement since 1985.
Let me call your attention back to November the 30th of 2007. What was your position with the Florida Department of Law Enforcement at that time?
I was the Assistant Special Agent in charge of the Fort Myers Regional Operations Center.
Was your department providing assistance to the Miami-Dade Police Department in an investigation that they were conducting?
Yes, we were.
Are you aware that Eric Rivera was in an interview room talking with Miami-Dade detectives for a period of time?
Yes, sir.
Are you familiar with that interview room?
Yes, I am.
Was there a landline telephone in that room at that time?
Yes, there was.
Did you hear any yelling or screaming going on during the time that, or chairs being knocked over, that Eric Rivera was talking with police detectives?
No, sir.
Were you around the area back and forth the entire time?
Yes, I was overseeing the entire operation.
That's all the questions I have at this time.
Now, good afternoon, Detective.
Good afternoon.
Now, you never actually interviewed Mr. Rivera, is that correct?
No, ma'am, I have not.
And you didn't participate in any of the interview of Mr. Rivera?
No, ma'am.
Now, do you know if Detective Segovia or anyone else removed the landline phone before Mr. Rivera was taken to that room?
I was not aware of that at all.
Okay. And did you go into the room after Mr. Rivera was interviewed?
I have been to it afterwards. I don't know exactly when after that situation, but being in charge of it, I know that if it was put back. Cause
okay. Nothing further.
To the best of your knowledge, being familiar with the facility, was there a landline in that room when Eric Rivera was interviewed?
Yes, there was.
All the questions I have.
All right, thank you. Inspector, you may be excused. Thank you, sir. Dick, go ahead, next witness in rebuttal.
Judge, at this time the state rests.
All right, members of my jury, you have heard all the evidence and all the testimony that you're going to hear in this case. The next step, which isn't today, involves us going over the law that I'm going to instruct you on. I told you early on at the beginning in jury selection that we have jury instructions that you'll be able to take back with you. We need to go over that law so that we're all on the same page and then get it in final form so I can have a hard copy of it for you to take back with you in the jury room for deliberations. We plan on doing that in the morning after my calendar. So in a few moments you'll be able to go home for the evening. Keep fans that are out there to be able to watch the game tonight. Don't discuss the case with anyone. Don't let anyone discuss the case in your presence. Don't watch or read anything about the case. Don't listen to anything about the case. I'm going to ask you tomorrow if you would. The next step that we have that involves you is closing arguments. That's not going to happen until after we go over the law. We're going to do that in the morning. Then you're going to have a couple hours of closing argument to listen to. I'll read the instructions to you and then send you back into the jury room to deliberate. Because we have to do that in the morning, and I don't want to necessarily break up the closing arguments with lunch and stuff, I'm going to ask you all to report tomorrow at 12:30 to the jury pool room on the 7th floor. We will get you down here soon after that. Everyone eat before you get here because you're not going to get a lunch break in the morning or midday. And we'll proceed on the closing arguments at that time. Anything else before we send them home for the evening?
No, sir.
Okay. Have a great evening. We will see you midday tomorrow.
All rise. Ladies and gentlemen, please pass your tablets forward. We'll hold them for you overnight. Make sure you have all your personal belongings with you. I'll meet with you briefly outside. I have parking permits for you. We'll get you out of here in a few minutes. Go ahead. Ladies and gentlemen, I want you to meet me on the second floor outside of courtroom 2-2.
Those who want to stay, other than the media, can stay. Those who are here from the media, take your paraphernalia with you and get out. Anyway, Mr. Cameraman, we just got a text, tweet, whatever, from one of the attorneys got one from a friend or colleague saying that